Happy New Year. As we turn the calendar to 2023, we want to thank you, our loyal WagerTalk Sports Memo and Gold Chief family. Thank you not only for your business, but for your feedback, suggestions, and criticisms, as it has helped us grow to become the #1 sports betting information company and leader of the sports betting videos and content, with WagerTalk TV now having over 110,000 subscribers. To welcome in 2023 and to thank all of you for your support, we want to give you 23% more on any All Sports All Access pass of 30 days and longer. Buy a 30-day All Sports All Access pass and get 7 days free, a $99 value. Buy a 90-day and get 22 free days. Buy a full year and get 84 free days, which basically takes you through March Madness of 2024. No coupon is needed, and the added free days will automatically appear. Just head to your favorite handicappers page and you will find these specials loaded. This special offer is only available until midnight on January 9th, the night of the College Football National Championship. For myself and everyone at the WagerTalk Media family, Happy New Year.
Hey guys, happy Friday. Andy from WagerTalk.com. Thanks for joining us on Prop It Up. Friday starts the weekend. For some of us, Thursday night started the weekend. So we will get to that in just a second. But we are here to make your weekend a profitable one through the props betting market. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters. We have Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com. He is here with me live on the show. And then out in the field, we have Andrew. Andrew's been enjoying the World Junior Hockeys. Andrew, do we have Andrew here? Producer Dan, up there he is.
He's only 17, but he plays like a man. He's a beast. He's a beast. He scores every game. Only 17, but he plays like a man. He's a beast. He's a beast. He scores every game.
That is Andrew on the news last night. And if you'll notice what's in his right hand, too many of those is why he's not being able to join us this morning. But shout out to Andrew. He will not be with us. I would say it's kind of like underage drinking. He's not underage, but he was drinking while watching underage guys play in the World Junior Hockeys. So shout out to Andrew. He had a good one. Oh, all right. So I'm still getting over that. He's a beast. He plays like a man. Matt, thanks for joining. Thank you for joining me this morning and being able to hold it together on a Thursday night. Tell everyone what you have going on at sportsmemo.com. We got a loaded show for everybody. We're going to go over NFL. Matt's got a game that we're going to play. We're going to go over something that I just thought was impossible in the game of life, and then we'll go over our best bet. So, Matt, how's everything going with you?
Doing well. I did read a headline last night. Local man in his pajamas was screaming, and I guess we found out who that man was in his pajamas. It was Andrew, just randomly screaming into a microphone. But, yeah, Week 18, man, it's always a very interesting week. It's a potentially profitable week, but, of course, the books know the same things that we know, so we're going to get into that. Doing well in college basketball, 7-1 the last 2 days in college basketball. And then, of course, college football, we're getting ready for 2 championships, the Saturday FCS championship, and then, of course, the FBS championship between TCU and Georgia. We'll get into that one a little bit later. My plays for that game will go up shortly as we try and complete a pretty good bowl season and a very good college football season. But as always, I'll be looking to your page, Andy, because I know you've got a lot of winners coming, and certainly this last regular season of the last weekend of the regular season is going to be filled with them too.
Yeah, it is a strange week. We have to adjust our handicapping styles big time. And this is where if you're kind of stuck in your ways with handicapping, you can get burned on this week. So you really have to look at things in a completely different angle. And we're going to get into that. I do want to give a shout out to Jim in particular in our chat. He's way ahead of us. He's found 3 sack props based off of incentives that he likes to hit. And I know Jim personally, and he has just been fantastic at his sack props. So there's a lot of good angles this week. Matt, let's get into it. You and I each picked one game before we get to all the incentives and bonuses. Why don't you get us started? What game did you pick, and what do you like in this game?
Well, of course, I picked the Eagles and the Giants because, this is my team. And, of course, there's a lot of question marks surrounding this game. We do not know yet if Jalen Hurts is going to play. I would guess that things are trending in that direction. As I look on the DraftKings page now, there's essentially nothing available when it comes to props. But I'll tell you this. If Jalen Hurts plays, I don't think he's going to run the ball as much. I think that his shoulder injury is going to keep him in the pocket a little bit more. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the rushing number is. I don't know if I have the stomach to take his under, but I'm certainly not going to take his over. His passing touchdowns, I think, is certainly going to be interesting because if he does not run and he stays in the pocket, I think he's going to throw 2 or 3 touchdowns. Remember, he got injured in that Bears game, and he still had a couple of great passes afterwards, still looked really good. So it's not like it's going to completely hinder him. I just think he's not going to run as much, which means you also play the Miles Sanders props. And then certainly, you take a look at A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith in this game. Dallas Goedert was a little disappointing last game. Some people are wondering if he's still injured. I don't think so. I think he just wasn't as much a part of the game plan. And then on the Giants side, the one thing that I'll be interested to see is obviously no Daniel Jones. It looks like it's going to be Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's got some mobility, and the Eagles have been beaten up a little bit by mobile quarterbacks. I'll be interested to see if the books hang a low number for Tyrod Taylor's rushing. I might be involved there. We know they'll probably run Matt Breida, maybe Gary Brightwell. So we'll be interested to see those numbers. And then, I don't know. I mean, who do you sit from this Giants wide receiving core? They all stink. They're all the same guy, essentially. So, and then the tight ends, the Eagles have struggled a little bit at times with the tight ends. Does Bellinger play? Does some other guy play? So the thing I'm going to be interested the most in for the Giants is Tyrod Taylor's rushing. And then for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts passing touchdowns and Miles Sanders rushing. If it's Gardner Minshew, well, then I think that they are going to try and run the same offense they've been running. And in theory, Minshew should be able to have some success as well. But obviously the quarterback decision is the big one for this one.
We have a question here in the chat. What books are putting up props the fastest? And this week, it is all over the board. There is not one book in particular that has all of them up. I have found multiple props on multiple different sports books. Again, we keep preaching, have as many books as possible because there have been props that have gone up on one book, and then I've seen them come down and go up with big adjustments to the numbers, but meanwhile, you can find the old number on another book. So this is a very hectic, chaotic week, I'm sure, for the books as they're trying to figure out what to do with some of these. So Hector, to answer your question, I can't say that there's one book in particular that's completely way ahead of everybody else putting them up. You just have to search around on all the different books. And I think if you have 5 or 6 different books, you should be able to find most of them. But the books, they are going to wait until the last second to put some of these numbers up for sure. I'm going to talk about the Rams and the Seahawks. I'm going to go back to Cam Akers over his rushing and receiving. If he's playing, which it looks like he should be playing. And this is a play that just keeps going over since Baker Mayfield has gone in there. He's gone over the last 3 weeks. Now, motivation is obviously going to be on the side of the Seattle Seahawks. They're the ones playing for the playoff spot. But, boy, if you're the Rams and you're Baker Mayfield and Cam Akers, we keep talking about this. Some of these guys are playing for their roster spots next year. Cam Akers is trying to show off for the coaches and say, listen, I can be the lead back here. I deserve a contract extension. Baker is playing for a starting job, either possibly for the Rams or maybe another team. So don't underestimate the motivation for the Rams. And also, boy, if you're the Rams, wouldn't you love to do some damage to a team that's in your division? I mean, this rivalry is for real, especially between the coaches. So I expect this to be a hard-fought game, even though the Rams as a team are not playing for playoff spots. There's a lot of individual motivation across the board. That's why I like Cam Akers over his rushing, receiving, gone over the last 3 weeks. Last week he did it just with his rushing alone. The Seahawks defense has just steadily gotten worse as the season has gone along. So that's by far my favorite one in this one. I'm on the fence about Tyler Higbee. He gets a great matchup. Seattle's the second worst team defending tight ends. He's just not been that good recently. He went well under his total in the last game he played against Seattle. I don't know if Baker and him are on the same page or if he's just not involved in the passing game. He had a terrible game last week, but then before that, 94 yards. So if you're a player that loves looking at the matchups on the defensive side, there's only one team worse against tight ends. But if you're a bettor that is looking at how has he done recently, you're kind of staying away. So Tyler Higbee is a tough one. Great matchup, but not a good track record recently. And then Kenneth Walker over his rushing. He has not been practicing. I expect him to play listen, what are you saving him for? If they lose this one, then their fate is not in their own hands. So I think they've been resting him and his ankle. He needs 64 yards to get to 1,000 yards rushing, and he has back-to-back weeks over 100 yards rushing. The Rams defense is nothing to write home about right now, as they're missing a lot of their key pieces. So I expect Kenneth Walker to be in the lineup, and as soon as he's listed as official to go, I would expect this number to come out, I don't know, around 70. It wouldn't surprise me if he got over 100 yards again. If he's good to go, they're going to ride him, especially if they get the lead. They'll use him in the fourth quarter around the clock. But I'm going back to Cam Akers over his rushing receiving as my favorite play in this one. So, all right, Matt, I before we get to the game, I have to bring it up. During college bowl season, there was the Duke Mayo Bowl, and you randomly put out a tweet that said, I have never eaten mayonnaise, and I don't know if I ever will. How have you never eaten mayonnaise? How have you not accidentally had something that had mayonnaise? How have you avoided mayonnaise your entire life?
Well, if it has mayo in it, I'm not going to eat it. It doesn't look very appealing. I literally was gagging several times watching that game as they were eating deviled eggs, and I forget the other stuff. It's a tough broadcast to watch because I despise mayo. But I've never had mayo before, and I don't think I ever will. It doesn't interest me, and I have other dips and condiments I can go to instead.
Most dips are mayonnaise based. Which blows my mind that you have avoided these at parties, at holidays, at everything. You've avoided mayonnaise your entire life.
Yeah, I could dip barbecue sauce instead for a lot of things. You could do soy sauce. You can do Worcestershire sauce, A1, whatever. There's other things you can do instead of mayo.
So you heard it here first. Worcestershire and steak sauce is a mayonnaise substitute. This is the most amazing stat of the season, I think. This is very impressive, Matt. Well, hey, it's quite the streak you're on. This is like DiMaggio. Matt's gone his entire life without eating mayonnaise. Congratulations. I did not know that this was possible. So, all right, Matt Josephs never eat mayonnaise, never going to. All right, let's get back into the NFL, Matt. I love this week. I love researching the contract incentives. I feel like it's becoming more and more popular. A couple years ago, this would be tough to find some of these contract incentives, but now the information is readily available. So I'm going to throw it to you. You constructed this game. I really don't know that much about it, so explain what we're getting ready to do here.
All right, so before we do that, though, Andy, I kind of want to just do like a wide-ranging sort of thing on contract incentives and stuff like that, because I feel like we do spend a lot of time on this, and we do kind of look for all of these things, but I feel like we kind of don't need to assume that all of them are going to hit, and I know you brought up early in the show the defensive ones, the sack ones. Those are going to be the toughest, because you've got to assume that these three guys, I know Zadarius Smith is one of them, are going to be able to get sacks. So, I feel like we do need to pay attention to the contract incentives, but, they're not automatics. And just because a guy needs something, a team's not necessarily going to get it for him. What is your wide-ranging thing before we get into some specifics with regards to this? Are you just going to blindly bet some of these overs?
No, I'm not going to blindly bet. I need obviously I need a contract incentive. You have to make sure it's realistic, obviously. And then you have to make sure that they're going to be in a game where the script can go their way. Like, I love taking some of these contract incentives in games that don't mean anything. I mean, I'll kind of spill the beans here. One of my favorite is going to be the Tyler Algier number. He needs 100 yards to get to 1,000. This game is meaningless for Tampa Bay. It's Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. Meaningless. Tampa Bay is locked into the 4 seed. Win or lose, it changes nothing. This is a glorified scrimmage, for them. So I have a number in Tyler Algier that is gettable. He can get to 100 yards. I have a game script that works out well in that the other team is not going to be playing for anything. They're probably going to be sitting their defensive starters, at least in the second half. So I need a lot of things. To work out to make it an official play. That being said, There are so many incentives and bonuses this year that I can easily see myself betting on 6 to 7 of them very confidently.
All right, so with that, we've got a nice little game show that we're going to play. It's called Play It or Pass It, a.k.a. I'm going to give you a guy. Most likely their numbers. There we go. I love this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you, there's 3 categories here: single season records, contract incentives, and magic numbers. I'm going to give you a guy. Most likely their prop's not going to be out. And Andy, you say play it or pass it. So here we go.
This is great. Everyone that follows me on Twitter knows I'm a huge Price is Right fan. I have it on my TV every morning, and this is just right up my alley. I cannot wait. All right, I'm ready,
All
Matt.
right. So there's 2 guys who have single season records that we're going to go over. First up, Justin Jefferson, a guy who's been a favorite for all of us. Last year, he went over a bunch of his records in that last season. Justin Jefferson can overtake Calvin Johnson's single season high of 1,964 yards and can get to 2,000 as well. He needs 194 yards to overtake Calvin Johnson. He needs 229 yards to hit 2,000. Andy, are you going to play it or pass it?
I am going to pass it. This number is just a little bit too high. I know they're playing the Bears, and I know the Bears are an atrocious defense. The Bears want nothing to do with a win. They are fighting for potentially a number 1 spot. All signs point to Jefferson having a huge game. That being said, the Vikings have bigger fish to fry as a team, and they are going to feel like complete dunces if they get Justin Jefferson hurt in a meaningless game right before they go into the playoffs. So if this game was meaningless for them, I would play it, but I'm going to pass it on this one. I don't think he gets nearly enough activity this weekend.
I agree. I don't think he's going to play the whole game. Now, the one thing that'll be interesting, Andy, for his number is he can get over a reasonable number on 1 catch and still not play the whole game. So I'll be interested to see what the books put out, Andy, because he could have an 80-yard touchdown in the first half before he goes out, and his number's like 97, and it goes over. So that'll be rather interesting. All right, let's go to Saturday, Andy. Patrick Mahomes can pass Peyton Manning's single season record of 5,477 passing yards. He needs 430 yards passing. His number is out. It's nowhere near 430. Andy, are you going to play the over or pass the over?
This one is closer to being a play it than Justin Jefferson was. In the end, though, I think it's kind of the same thing that the Chiefs are going to feel pretty silly if they leave him out there to try and go. So I'm going to go pass it. I will say in this game there is another contract, or there's another record that could be broken, which kind of correlates with Patrick Mahomes. I think you could see a lot of shorter completions from Patrick Mahomes, but 430 is a number that is reserved for shootout games. This should not be a shootout. I don't see the Chiefs screwing around in this one. In fact, I would look at Isaiah Pacheco over his rushing total, as I think that's where the Chiefs offense goes. The Chiefs, again, bigger fish to fry. It's championship or bust for them. I am going to pass it.
All right. I agree. I think he gets over 300, and then they kind of take him out and kind of because they'll be up by a lot. Now, if it is a close game, Andy, he could play all 4 quarters. So we'll see what happens there. So those are the season records. Now let's touch on just a couple, maybe 3 contract incentives. First one, Andy, we're going to stick and stay in the same game. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, if he can get 21 receptions, we'll get an extra $500,000. Andy, will MVS get 21 receptions?
I'm going to go with pass it. I think he comes up 20 or so short.
Yeah, I think so too. But that just shows you that not every contract incentive is attainable. All right, so let's head to Detroit. Well, they're in Green Bay, but let's head to the Detroit Lions. Jamal Williams has 2 interesting ones, and I think they're relatively attainable. Jamal Williams can make $250,000 for 1,000 yards rushing. He needs 6 yards. He also needs 2 touchdowns to break Barry Sanders' single-season team record. Andy, play it or pass it. 2 rushing touchdowns for Jamal Williams this week.
One of my favorite plays this week is Jamal Williams to score 1 touchdown and then to also play 2 touchdowns. He was quoted as saying, quote, "I'm coming for you, Barry." And this is a very, very player-friendly coach. I'm definitely going to play it. The other big thing with this one is if Seattle wins, this game is meaningless for the playoffs for the Lions. So therefore, they're just going to do whatever they can to get all their players contract incentives. This game script works out good. If the game is important to the Lions, he gets the second most amount of red zone touches. So I think he scores 1 easily. I think that's a lock. And then if Seattle loses, I would immediately go in and bet him to score 2 touchdowns. He's beloved on that team. The coaching staff loves him. One of my favorite plays of the week, absolutely playing this one.
Yeah, Dan Campbell, the anti-Bill Belichick, who I think would be all over that sort of thing, and that's why the players in the locker room love him. All right, let's head to Jacksonville. They've got a massive game against Tennessee. Win, and you are in. That's what we're talking about here for the playoffs. And there are 2 Jacksonville wide receivers who have some contract incentives. Zay Jones can make $250,000 for 80 receptions, $500,000 for 900 receiving yards. He needs 2 receptions and 98 yards. Andy, will he get one, both, or neither? Play it or pass it?
Boy, this is a tough one. This game is for all the marbles in the division. Tennessee, good rushing defense, horrific passing defense. The last time they played, Trevor Lawrence had a big game. Evan Ingram had the big game, 11 catches, well over 100 yards. Kirk and Jones had okay games, but both of them, if they replicate those performances, they're going to come up a little bit short. I'm going to play it. I think he gets there. The other sneaky thing that you can do with this game is you potentially could look at a same game parlay with receptions on Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, because obviously their reception total is probably going to be 3.5, 4.5. But if you get a same game parlay to lower their receiving or reception totals, that would be a way to attack this one. I'm going to play it. I think Jacksonville wins this game. I don't think Tennessee's secondary can overcome all the injuries. Wide receivers should have a big day. I'm going to play this one.
Yeah, you mentioned Kirk. He needs 2 receptions and 91 yards to trigger 2 contract incentives and get $1 million. All right, we'll head to the Chargers for our last contract incentives. DeAndre Carter can make $250,000 with 2 more receptions. Gerald Everett can make $250,000 with 5 more receptions, but there's a chance the Chargers may not need the game depending upon the 1 o'clock results, Andy. So how are you playing these 2? Are you playing or passing Carter and or Everett?
Again, I would love if this game didn't mean anything for the playoff seedings. Even if it does, I'm going to go with playing both of these. If they don't need this game, this is going to be real easy for them to throw Carter and Everett out there to get some short passes. This is a coach that is progressive. Sometimes you would say a little bit too progressive with the amount of 4th downs that he goes for. He's not old school. He understands the records, understands the incentives. Gerald Everett, I believe, has gone over this total 50% of the games this year. So this is not like some wild, crazy number that he never gets to. Again, if the game doesn't mean anything, very, very easy to put Carter out there for a couple catches. Very easy to put Everett out there for 5. I am going to play this one.
All right, so those are the contract incentives. Now we're going to do our third one, which is essentially magic numbers. Even numbers, 3,000, 1,000, all that good stuff. And we'll rip through a couple of these, Andy. Amon-Ra St. Brown needs 7 receptions to pass Michael Thomas and Justin Jefferson for the most receptions in a player's first 2 seasons. Are you playing or passing over 7 receptions for Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Tough one. I'm going to pass on this one. There is another Detroit Lions wide receiver that has some other contract incentives that are a lot more financially beneficial to that particular player. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's incredible. Jared Goff has been good the last few weeks. Now, I will say, if this game means something, then Amon-Ra St. Brown can get over this one. I think he comes up just a little bit short. I think he gets 5 or 6 receptions. If the game is meaningful to the Lions, he possibly could get there, but I'm going to play it cautious and pass on this one.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be a little tough. They'll try, but we'll see, because obviously it's tough to throw in Green Bay. The weather could be a little cold. Who knows? And as you said, the game may not matter, so we'll see on that one. All right, one of the guys who I'm sure is not caring very much about magic numbers or anything, Bill Belichick. Mac Jones needs 247 yards for 3,000, which is nothing nowadays. But Andy, play it or pass it over 247 passing yards for Mac Jones against the Bills.
Well, if we just kind of go down the list of things Bill Belichick doesn't care about, personal records is one, mediocre quarterbacks is another, and then records for mediocre quarterbacks. This is the last thing on Bill Belichick's mind. Uh, this is an easy pass on this one. They're playing the Bills. I think the Bills pass defense is going to be way too good. Mac is frustrated. Mac is flustered. He does not get to 247 yards.
Steelers and Browns, low number, but he's struggled at times. Najee Harris needs 46 yards for 1,000 rushing yards on the season. Andy, play it or pass it?
I saw his rushing total they put out for this game, and it's over 70. They are getting the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, huge number. So the books are screaming that this is going to be an easy over. I think it's an easy over as well. They're at home. Cleveland's rush defense has just become one of the worst in the league, if not the worst. I think they ride Najee Harris to a win here. They need a lot of stuff to break their way to get into the playoffs, but the things that they need to have happen are not that outlandish. They're going to be very, very much more motivated than the Cleveland Browns. They're going to lean on Najee. Najee easily gets over this 46 yards, and I would not be scared to take him over his rushing total that the books have, which is over 70 yards.
All right, we'll do two more magic numbers as we love our magic game and our great music playing in the background. Andy, A.J. Brown needs 99 yards to go over 1,500. He doesn't know his quarterback right now. Are you playing or passing A.J. Brown over 99 receiving yards?
This is my first hold. I need to know who the quarterback is. If Jalen Hurts is playing, then yeah, he's going to go over. They're going to make sure to get him there. I mean, he came from Tennessee where he felt he was not appreciated. The Eagles go get him, pay him a good amount of money, and they're going to show him that they've got his back. I don't think Minshew can quite get him there, but if Jalen Hurts is playing, that's a surefire sign that, as you mentioned, Hurts is not going to run a lot. He's going to pass. I'm going to hold. I need to know the quarterback situation. If Jalen Hurts plays, I'm going to play it.
All right, and the last one, I couldn't leave out your favorite team. Michael Pittman needs 105 receiving yards.
Pass it. Just pass it. Well, I'm sorry, run it. Don't pass, or pass it out of bounds. Pass it into the ground. You're going to see a lot of that. Michael Pittman is not getting to 1,000 yards with Sam Ehlinger as the quarterback.
I mean, you never know, Andy. They might say Jeff Saturday is a player's coach. I would bet.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. I listen. Here's the outside shot that he possibly could get there. I don't know if there's ever been a game that two teams don't want to win more than this game right here. The Colts have all the motivation in the world to lose. The Texans have all the motivation in the world to lose. So it could easily be that both these teams are throwing out third stringers, and maybe Jeff Saturday, who's a former player, wants to try and get one of his guys 1,000 yards. The defense of the Texans could be terrible. The Colts defense we know is terrible. It's an outside shot, but not with Ehlinger at quarterback.
Now with you at quarterback, could he get 105 yards?
Well, yeah, I just throw lobs the entire game. Lang is 18 of 57. Michael Pittman has 17 catches. So just 3-step drop, lob it in the air. I'll throw it as far as I can, 21 yards down the field.
All right, that is our first, and who knows, maybe only edition of Play It or Pass It on Prop It Up.
Well done, Matt. Well done, Dan. That was awesome. Good job. Oh, that was a good one. Matt, we got as you mentioned, we got a couple championship games. Let's talk about these games and some props. So you've had a great bowl season. You've talked about how good you've been at college basketball. So college sports guru on this one. Are we looking at anything props-wise for this championship game?
Yeah, I definitely think it's interesting, and I'm starting to get the whole strategy. Like this is almost like the Super Bowl in that a lot of people see this game going between TCU and Georgia in different ways, and you're basically going to play your props off of that. So if you think it's going to be an over, I think you're looking at a lot of the overs, and if you're going to play overs in this game, I would say you got to play them now. And some of the books have put out the player props. Obviously, in Virginia, we're not allowed to play them, so I kind of use somebody else's book. Like Andy tells me when there's stuff up and what it is, so I can't really play any of these sort of things. But if you think, I think there's a sneaky chance this is an under. Like I know that everybody saw the 2 semifinal games and saw all these points, and the defenses were struggling a bit. I have this now, it's a high number. I just feel like there's a chance that this is not as high scoring as everybody thinks. And I kind of like TCU to cover, I think. And so based off of those two things, I'm be looking at props a little bit differently than somebody else. So basically what I'm saying is, and I'll have my props and stuff either tonight or tomorrow, is basically play this game out in your head. If you're a college football guy and you've watched both of these teams all season, figure out how you think this game's going to go. I mean, look, I hit the Max Duggan rushing yards last game. The toughest thing about rushing yards in college is you lose yardage on sacks. And that's a big problem because, you could have a guy who's at 45 yards. He takes a 15-yard sack and you're back down at 30 and you're potentially losing your bet. So that's something you always have to consider when you look at the college game, especially if you're somebody who doesn't, bet props in college games. You do lose sack yardage on rushing totals for the quarterback, so that complicates things a little bit. If you're taking the Georgia guy, there's kneel downs at the end of the game potentially. So I really think if you're going to bet props in this game, play it out in your head first, see how you think it's going to go. If you think Brock Bowers is going to have a big game, or A.D. Mitchell or Kendre Miller if he plays for TCU. So I'm going to have my props out tonight or tomorrow. It's going to be based off of how I think the game's going to go, but you may think it's going to go a completely different way. So play your props off of how you think the game's going to go, much like you would for the Super Bowl.
Great stuff, Matt Josephs. You can find all of his picks and plays at sportsmemo.com. A little bit of NBA talk before we get to our best bet. In NBA, playing player props, blowouts are just the death of these player props, and we saw it on full display last night. The Celtics completely blow out the Mavericks, and what happens? Jason Tatum doesn't get 30 points. Jaylen Brown doesn't get over his total. We look at the Nuggets and the Clippers. That game was over before it started, and some of the main players for the Nuggets don't get over their point total. The Clippers players don't go over. So it's really hard to predict blowouts, but when you're looking at some of these NBA games, I'm finding myself having to say, well, what is the blowout potential? And if I see that there's, the writings on the wall for a blowout, you just kind of have to stay away from those games. So I'm looking at games tonight, Trailblazers and the Pacers. This should be a really close game, should be high scoring. You've got a high total, the spread's -1.5. I don't see either one of these teams blowing each other out. So I think player props are good to go in this one. Buddy Hield has been on fire. The books finally raised his number to 18.5. He was at 16.5, which we've just been cashing night after night. I still think he's good to go in this one. You got the Bulls at the 76ers. We'll have to wait and see what's going on with Joel Embiid. Knicks and Raptors, the game should be close, but then you've got this Brooklyn Nets and Pelicans game, no Zion, and the Nets have just been on fire. I think there's blowout potential in that one, so I'm going to be hard-pressed to try and play Durant or Kyrie in this game. The Hornets and the Bucks, there's another blowout potential. The Hornets are just awful. Milwaukee can easily blow them off the court, so I'm staying away from some of those. So I'm just looking. I find that you have to handicap the blowouts before you can even start looking at some of these player props. But NBA season it's been tough. It's been different from the last couple seasons, which kind of can give us advantages in some ways. But the blowouts have definitely been tough to navigate so far. Matt, I'm going to do the best bet today. I've got a 5% NFL play that is up on WagerTalk.com, 17-7 on these. Encourage you to go grab that. The prop of the week is going to be in the NBA tonight, and it's going to be James Harden over 24.5 points. So James Harden is one of Matt's favorite players. He's a beast. He scores every game. But the last couple games, he scored 26 and 27 points. Before that, against New Orleans, he had 20, but before that, 26 and 29. He's playing really well. his assists and rebound numbers have kind of gone down. He used to be a rebounds and assist machine. Those have come down, but his points have stayed pretty good. And he gets a great matchup against the Bulls tonight. The Bulls, listen, if you can figure out the Bulls, go ahead. They're like the giant killers. They lose to all the teams that they shouldn't lose to, and then they, turn around and beat the top teams in the West and the top teams in the East. But one thing that's consistent with them is they cannot defend perimeter guys. Kyrie had a good game. They're coming off of the Cleveland game when Donovan Mitchell scored 71 points on the perimeter. That was against the Bulls. So I look for Harden to have a good game tonight. 24.5 seems a few points too low. I don't expect him to get to 30, but surely 28 or 29 is well within range for him. So give me James Harden as our prop of the week. Matt, go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you and what you're going to have up this weekend.
Yeah, sportsmemo.com, 7-1 college basketball the last 2 days, so we'll have some college basketball tomorrow. The card stinks tonight, so we're taking the night off. And then, of course, Sunday NFL props. And then Monday, national championship stuff, hoping to close out a great college football season. By the way, Andy, I know you've been asking for it. Breaking news, Joe Flacco starting for the Jets against Skylar Thompson. This could be a barn burner of a game between these two legendary quarterbacks.
Oh my God. We know it's the last week when you got the Flacco Skylar Thompson matchup. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I mean, seriously, Matt, like 7-8 weeks ago on paper, this was like, ooh, this could be for the wild card, or this could be for, now it's, those poor teams. I'm Andy Lang. I'm on WagerTalk.com, 5% NFL play. All my official bonus and incentive player props will be included with that 5% play, so go grab that. The 5% NFL plays have just been incredible for us this year. Looking to cash another one. We're number one for profits gained on 5% plays in the NFL this season by far, so go grab that. Matt, great job on the game today. Dan, producer Dan, thank you so much. That was a lot of fun. Can we see? Can Andrew say bye one more time, Dan? Can we get Dan?
He's a beast. He scores every game. Only 17, but he plays like a man. He's a beast. He's a beast. He scores every game.
Thank you, Andrew, for joining us today. Enjoy your time. No, seriously, I love the passion that Andrew has for the World Junior. And honestly, his picks have been very, very good and very profitable in that. So congratulations, Andrew, for having a good time. All right, guys, let's have a great final week of the regular season in the NFL. Don't forget, got college basketball. We've got NBA, tons of sports. UFC starts next week. Golf is already underway. So we're looking really, really good. A lot of profits coming up. Let's have a great weekend, everyone. And we will see all of you next week on Prop It Up.
Happy New Year. As we turn the calendar to 2023, we want to thank you, our loyal WagerTalk Sports Memo and Gold Chief family. Thank you not only for your business, but for your feedback, suggestions, and criticisms, as it has helped us grow to become the #1 sports betting information company and leader of the sports betting videos and content, with WagerTalk TV now having over 110,000 subscribers. To welcome in 2023 and to thank all of you for your support, we want to give you 23% more on any All Sports All Access Pass of 30 days and longer. Buy a 30-day All Sports All Access Pass and get 7 days free, a $99 value. Buy a 90-day and get 22 free days. Buy a full year and get 84 free days, which basically takes you through March Madness of 2024. No coupon is needed, and the added free days will automatically appear. Just head to your favorite handicappers page and you will find these specials loaded. This special offer is only available until midnight on January 9th, the night of the College Football National Championship. For myself and everyone at the WagerTalk Media family, Happy New Year.